Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a really fascinating philosophical puzzle from an ancient Buddhist text. And this one starts with a claim that is, well, it's deeply unsettling. But stick with me, because it ends with a surprising, hidden teaching about what the path to liberation really looks like.
So, just imagine hearing that for a second. It's a statement that seems to just slam the door on hope for pretty much anyone who isn't perfectly enlightened at the exact moment of death, right? And that is the puzzle at the heart of our story today, a claim that seems to completely contradict the whole idea of a gradual spiritual path.
Okay, so let's set the scene. Our story actually begins not with the Buddha himself, but with one of his most brilliant disciples, the Venerable Sariputta, as he's just going about his quiet daily routine.
And where are we? We're in one of the most famous locations in all of Buddhist history, Jetavana Monastery. The key thing to know here is that the Buddha himself is in residence. This is a big deal because it establishes the authority of what's about to happen. This isn't just some random story. It's a clarification that's going to come straight from the source.
You see Sariputta's actions here, and they're just a picture of perfect monastic discipline. Every single step, putting on his robes, taking his bowl, it's all deliberate and mindful. He's really the model of a calm, focused practitioner, but his day is about to take a very unexpected turn.
So he heads into town, but it's still too early to collect food. Now, instead of just, waiting around, Sariputta's investigative nature kicks in. He decides to visit a nearby hermitage, which was a place where ascetics and philosophers from all different traditions would gather to talk and debate. He's not looking for a fight. He's just genuinely curious.
And this is where you really see his noble character shine through. He doesn't just barge in and start challenging people. No, he offers friendly, courteous greetings and then just sits quietly to the side, simply to listen and understand what they're talking about. And it's right there, in this quiet, respectful state, that Sariputta overhears the perplexing statement that's going to spark his entire investigation and lead to a really profound clarification from the Buddha.
So what are these wanderers talking about? Well, they're laying out this very stark all-or-nothing view of the world. They're claiming that if you die with any residue of worldly existence left, any clinging at all, you are automatically doomed to a rebirth in hell. I mean, the implication is terrifying. Basically, no one can be safe unless they achieve this final complete extinction at the very moment of death.
Now, here's what's truly remarkable. Sariputta's reaction. What would most of us do? Probably argue, right? Or debate, or just immediately reject the idea. He does none of that. He just listens without judgment, gets up calmly, and decides to go verify this with the one person who would know for sure. It's a perfect example of intellectual humility.
His thought process is simple. I shall learn the meaning of this statement in the presence of the Blessed One. And, with that, he leaves. See, he understands that winning some roadside debate is completely meaningless. The real goal is to understand the truth, and for that, you have to go to the ultimate authority, the Buddha himself. So, back at the monastery, Sariputta carefully explains the whole thing to the Buddha. What he heard, who said it, the whole story. And the Buddha, well, he doesn't hesitate for a second to pinpoint the fundamental error in their thinking.
The Buddhist response isn't angry, but it is incredibly direct. He basically says, Sariputta, how could those foolish and incompetent wanderers possibly understand what is with residue and what is without residue? He just dismisses their view by pointing out that they don't even understand these two crucial technical concepts.
And the Buddha's entire clarification hinges on this first key concept, Sappādisa Nibbana. So what is that? It's liberation with residue. Think of it this way. It's a state that someone achieves while they are still alive. Their mind is completely, totally free, but the physical body and the senses, the residue, are still functioning.
And that, of course, brings us to the second concept, Anupadisesa Nibbana. This is liberation without residue, and it refers to the final passing away of a fully enlightened being. See, the wanderers had completely mixed these two up. They thought that just having a physical body, the residue, was the same thing as having spiritual impurity, and that's where they went wrong.
Okay, so after clearing up that major confusion, the Buddha then reveals something truly profound, a teaching that Sariputta had actually never heard before. He explains that there aren't just one or two types of liberated people. No, there are 9 types of individuals who are completely safe, even if they die with residue. And this one statement just completely shatters the wanderer's rigid, all-or-nothing claim. This just blows the whole thing wide open. It gives a much more nuanced,
detailed, and honestly a more hopeful map of the path to liberation. It shows that your safety from suffering is guaranteed long before your final physical death.
And then the Buddha just lays them all out. This table gives you a great overview of these 9 types. It creates this detailed map of liberation. You've got the really advanced practitioners at the top, the non-returners, who will never be reborn in this world again. But it also includes the stream enters at the bottom, people who have firmly set their course towards enlightenment and have, at the absolute most, just 7 lives left to go.
So, what's the crucial takeaway from all this? Well, a few things. First, every single one of these 9 individuals dies with residue, meaning they still have a physical body when they pass away. Second, they are all considered noble ones, and most importantly, all 9 of them are completely and forever freed from the possibility of falling into lower realms of suffering. Once you're on this path, your safety is absolutely, irreversibly guaranteed. But, this clarification raises an even more fascinating question. If this teaching is so important, so reassuring, why was it a secret? Why hadn't even a top disciple like Sariputta ever heard it before?
And then the Buddha reveals something pretty remarkable. He just comes right out and says it. I did not openly teach this doctrine before. He admits that he deliberately kept this specific breakdown of the 9 types of noble persons from being a general public teaching. It wasn't an oversight at all. It was a conscious choice.
And here's the very human, very understandable reason why. He was worried. He was concerned that if people heard they were guaranteed to be safe after reaching a certain stage, well, they might use it as an excuse to stop trying, to get complacent in their spiritual practice. There's actually a specific word for this danger, pamada. It means things like negligence, heedlessness, laziness, or complacency. It's a really profound lesson in spiritual psychology, right? It's the danger of thinking, hey, I'm safe now, so I don't really need to try so hard anymore. It's that temptation to just coast. And this really highlights the incredible skill of a master teacher, doesn't it? The doctrine of the 9 liberated persons is a deep comfort, a huge source of confidence for people who are already dedicated to the path. But for someone who's maybe looking for a spiritual shortcut, or an excuse to be lazy, that very same teaching could become a trap. And that really leaves us with a final thought to take away, something to chew on. In our own lives, in our own pursuit of knowledge, whether it's spiritual, professional, personal, whatever, how do we use what we learn? Do we use it as fuel to keep striving, to keep growing? Or do we let it become a comfortable pillow to rest on, where we start believing we already know enough?